everyone. I'm Angela Kirkian, Director of Education at PPA. And today I get to introduce you to Gregory Daniel, the President for PPA. Thanks so much for joining us today, Gregory.
Thanks, great to be here.
I'm so excited to get to introduce you to everybody, although a lot of people already know you because you do a ton of teaching and sharing and giving back to our community. But thank you for just taking a minute to jump on with us and share a little bit about what's going on in your world. How are things going in Tallahassee?
Well, this is fantastic here. I mean, we're just trying to get from day to day to day, actually. But it's so wonderful. For me, it's been a fantastic year because I'm a new grandfather.
Oh, babies.
Grandchild. So, as much tragedy and difficulty that there is out there right now, you see this newborn little beautiful baby and it makes the world a much better place. I mean,
and you have a little bit of time to spend, right?
We get her on Mondays, and so she comes to Camp Lollipop. It's
oh my gosh, I love it.
Lisa is Lolly and I am Popster, and so she comes to Lollipops.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah. Congratulations. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
That's really fun.
We're over the moon. So, and our kids are all healthy and fine, and so things are great here.
You're doing good. And you're president this year for PPA, and so you're serving your year, and how's that going?
Yeah, it's different than I had anticipated and expected, but I believe it was my time to do this and to be here during this period of time, and I'm fine with it. And I'm glad I'm the one that actually drew that straw to be the president and help lead and guide us through this really difficult period of time. I went through so many difficult times working on the space program, and some of you might know that it was in my history. And so there's a lot of training behind trying to endure difficulties and tragedies and lots of stuff that we went through. And so I feel like I was prepared enough to be able to help us through this as well. So it's good. I think it's good. Looking back, I'm going to be proud of all the things that we were able to accomplish and do for our members. And I just see a bright future ahead, and we've done so well doing that. So
yeah. Well, you're such a phenomenal educator. You have been such a huge supporter of photographers in general, but all education supporting entrepreneurs. And I've been reading your presidential messages. If you guys haven't had a chance, they're always at the end of the magazine. And Gregory's been doing a whole series for us, and I've been enjoying them. And I didn't find out until recently that there's actually a method to your madness in creating those articles for us.
So that surprised you that I had a sort
that
of...
does not surprise me at all. You have a system and a process? No, not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. After all those times I've sat in your office and just talked, we've had some great conversations Absolutely. About the industry and dreaming about what could be and how we can help everyone. And so those have been great conversations, and I will definitely miss those in the next few years when I'm not in headquarters as much anymore. But those were great times. Yeah, I mean, I started off thinking this was before I had to start preparing to write these articles as president. You have to write them a couple of months ahead of time. And so this was before COVID, and I really wanted to send out a message every month that had some sort of common theme through it, and be toolbox training and have messaging in there that could help entrepreneurs step through some processes and step through how to create and maybe take another step into their business level. So if you kept up with them, you might see a little bit of a common thread of easing you up in through my method of madness.
I love it. The most recent one I really, really enjoyed. I'd love to chat with that because I feel like it's something that right now is maybe a little challenging for a lot of people, just given the state of things going on in the world. And in the most recent one in September, you talked about confidence.
Yeah, that one actually was not initially planned in my thought process, how I was going to go through these articles. But we actually, one of my only presidential visits that I got to do, at this point was to Oklahoma. So Professional Photographers of Oklahoma. And we were on our flight connecting from Georgia to Oklahoma. And we saw before everybody boarded, this whole group of people just rallying together. I travel quite a bit. And so this was very unusual to see this kind of energy and this kind of thing. They got on the plane and we were right in the middle of this pack of what turned out to be firefighters. And they were like the special force firefighters, the ones that were like SEAL teams for the Navy, And so they had all of this energy and excitement and passion, and they were just talking about it and talking about each other. And so we got off in Oklahoma and we're sitting back watching them get all of their equipment off of the conveyor belts and baggage, I turned to Lisa and I said, there's one thing they all have in common, that every one of them have in common, this high level performing group. They all have confidence. I'm thinking, that's something, I just wonder how much of a factor that is in business, in entrepreneurship, especially in entrepreneurship. How much of a factor is having confidence in entrepreneurship? And so I went off and I normally write these things and just, bring them all out of my head just as I write them. And so I just wrote that one that way. And I did a little bit of research about confidence, and there's a couple of references to authors in there that talk about confidence. And it's a great thing to search on and Google and look up confidence and how much of an impact that has in business and in leadership. And it's quite a bit. And I just never have really given it that much of a thought. But yeah, it makes a big difference. For example, if you think about it, you can break it down. And I did this in the article. I broke it down in different touch points with our clients, physical touch points where they could see confidence or not, or the lack of confidence.
Right.
Like in consultations, when you do your consultations, and I know you can relate to this from owning a studio for so long. During that consultation, if you don't really know how to find out what your client needs, what their needs are, and you don't know how to bring that out in, because they don't know,
right?
They don't know how to express it. So, but if they feel very confident that you're confident about your products and which ones would fit their needs and design it for them, just checking your points of confidence throughout each one. Even the session, the next thing that comes in line is actually performing the session. When you're out creating the portraits, are you like looking down at your camera? Are you fiddling with things? Are you not confident of your toolbox? That you're not real sure of the tools and you're tweaking things and you're moving. And some of the confidence is you just don't have confidence in talking to people. And if you don't have confidence talking to people, you're going to be fiddling. Even if you know what you're doing, you're just fiddling. Right. And you're just letting them pose. You're letting them do their thing. And I think there's a huge part of that experience that is just the icing on that cake is confidence.
Yeah. I think people want to be taken care of. And they want someone who they feel like can take care of them. In whatever that experience is. So whether it's, so just projecting confidence. I think you're right. I think people sometimes have confidence in their technical abilities, but they're not being aware of how important confidence is or what role it plays. And so they don't project confidence.
Yeah, it's not just not having it, it's actually just showing it, right? It's actually displaying it, like you just said, projecting it. And projecting it, that takes you to the next step in your sales process is that order, what we call an order appointment. Are you an order taker or are you an order maker, right? Are you going to actually help them and guide them through the process of what their end product is going to be that you started off? Did you create pieces that were in the beginning, that what they were talking about? Did you actually solve their problem at the end? Did you create products that solved their problem, or did you just do things and lay them out in front of them and go, how do you feel? What do you think about it? What do you want? That's not beginning with the end in mind, right? So beginning with the end in mind takes a lot of confidence so you can get through to the other side. That's incredibly important. All the way to the delivery. You know, do you deliver the products? How do you do it? Do you do it with confidence, or do you just like put it in the mailbox, or do you, you know, how do they pick it up? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. All of that stuff. And all of that's so vital right now, I think, in our world when we're, especially maybe when we're feeling a little less confident in what's going on around us. Maybe it's even more important right now to own that place, to be that person for our clients.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about what else is kind of on your heart to share. I know you and I talk a ton about marketing.
Yes, I do.
Because that seems to be ever evolving. It never changes. Like you know, you learn some things and that just becomes what you know. But I feel like marketing constantly changes. We're always evolving, and maybe the only constant in all of that is change. But handling that change and knowing what to do next in our businesses and all the stress that goes along with that. How have you guys handled that? You've been in business for a little bit of time now. You've gone through some things.
Over a minute. That's going on 42 years. Yes, it's, you know,
that's a long time.
very long time. We started the company was 19 years old back in 1979, so it's been quite a long time, and we've been very blessed, very fortunate to go through all of those different ups and downs and make it through well. Some of that, and a lot of these go through the articles that I've written. A lot of this thread that we're sharing right now are in those articles, and so there's you know, you asked me what was on my heart, and I think I've been sharing a lot of that through the articles, and I was thinking, you know, what is that common thread that runs through all of this and that has run through my career in this business? And I think it has to do with what you just mentioned about change. Change is constant. You know, some change is a lot and some change is minimal. This is a big, huge change that we're in. It's a difficult period, but it's actually a change. And it's going to probably impact and affect how we do things or what we do. It might not look the same on the other side, right? Just like in recessions and downturns and things like that. There's lots of changes that occur, that happen, that really stable businesses that are laid on foundation of principles, they last, right? They go through those things. And so you can surround yourself with these principles and great tools. And so just a few of them that come to mind, because I talk to a number of studios that I mentor and help. And it seems like one thing that they all have in common is it's very difficult to change their paradigm. It's very, very difficult for them to have a paradigm shift from one perspective to another, that they can't see themselves in a different way or in a different mode. And when you can't see yourself in that, it's even hard to deal with change, when you just can't even see yourself in a different place. And so once you can start trying to give yourself permission to think a different way, then you can maybe change and adapt and adopt, and maybe it doesn't look the same. Maybe actually every time I've done it, every time I've gone through these changes, it's actually been more beautiful on the other side. It's always been my experience, even though it was like a painful thing to go through. When I went through and I changed, it became so much better because I did it the right way, right? And so a few of the tools that helped us through all of these difficult periods, one was the mastermind group. So I wrote an article about the mastermind group, and that was an incredible thing that has been a great experience in our life, to have synergy around you of people of maybe different, you know, all these different minds. We can all share and brainstorm on a common platform, on a common level, because we share the same kind of business models, on how to do things differently, on how to shift our paradigms, on how to make things work, you know, and have basically a board of directors, your own board of directors, to run ideas and thoughts and concepts by, that will help you run through it. So that's a tool, right, that can help you run through this very difficult period of time. One difficult period of time, which comes to mind that really kind of parallels in a way what I'm talking about, was in '06. I was noticing a downturn because of, and this was an article on dashboards that I was talking about. I'm looking at our dashboard on our sessions and sales and all of that, and I could see there was a tendency of forecasting of things starting to slide. And I said, man, I have got to do something different, or we're going to be suffering in the future. And then all of a sudden, unbeknownst to me, was going to be this downturn. So there was just these indicators that I started to see before I heard about this downturn. So it gave us a little head start. And Lisa, when we go into airports, she buys these business books, and she says, here, you might want to read this. Okay, so I collect all these cool little business books. Well, this one business book was called Waiting for Your Cat to Bark. Are you waiting for your cat to bark? And that book, the gist of it basically is that if you're doing marketing like you used to, it's like waiting for your cat to bark. It's not going to happen. Marketing is so different. And so it just shook me, shook my foundation of marketing and how I could think about marketing in a different way. And so I explored a lot of different areas, and I completely revamped the way that we marketed. And it became revolving around 6 degrees of separation and that kind of marketing, where you're synergizing off of a group of people that know each other, and you can use an invite door basically and bring people in. So that whole concept and that whole thought process just cascaded and helped me through it. So that's another tool. Or there's these cool business books out there that can help you if you just open your mind up and you can go, how can this principle apply, and can I do it in a certain way? Donald Miller is a great Story Brand right now is a great read and a great way to see that. But the common thread that runs through all of that, I think, as I talk to people, is, do you have a willingness to change? Do you have a willingness to see things differently and maybe create something that is more beautiful than you ever thought? Because we start off in this business. We start off in this business, most of us, because we love what we do, right? We love doing photography, and then we get a few clients, and we start like, okay, now I'm going to have to exchange some money, and I'm going to have to learn a little bit of business, and all of a sudden, after a couple of years, you look behind and you go, golly, how did I get here? I don't know that this was the right place. I didn't actually put a ladder on a wall. I just didn't even put a ladder up. I didn't even know I was on this wall, but I'm on a wall that I don't know that this is the wall, right? And then you go, I can't get off this wall because I don't know how to get off the wall. I don't know how to get off this ladder. And I didn't even know there's another wall available to get on, right?
So true.
And I'm too afraid to let go of this wall, to touch this wall, to get up, so it's our industry is built that way. And that's built into the sauce of our industry. And so the really, really successful ones start climbing this wall, and then they are able to make that transition, because it's not typically the wall that you start off on. It's not typically the wall you want to end up on, right? That can support an ongoing sustainable business. Normally we don't get on a sustainable wall at the very beginning. We don't know any better, right?
Right. Yeah. And well, sometimes I think our business, instead of us building our business builds us, or it's running us instead of us running it.
Yes.
And I think you're right. I feel like people sometimes start because they don't know where to start, and they just need to get busy. Like they just need to jump in. They need to get busy. They need to get clients. They've got to go through their own ups and downs, their own learning curve, figuring things out, what's working, what's not working. I know you've talked about this a lot, personal projects, knowing what you love, creating things that you love creating, and how important that is to us as artists, in addition to being entrepreneurs. And so there's this whole process that I think we go through, which some people maybe go through it faster than others, or some people are more focused on business than on art, or, there's always that percentage of, different makeups of who you are as a person and an artist and an entrepreneur. But it's just, it's very interesting to me, from someone who has been in business for a little while. You've gone through lots of changes, to kind of see that from that perspective, that where you end up obviously isn't going to be at the same point at which you started. But just your advice of really being intentional about the decisions that you're making, and mindful, right, in that whole process, and where you want to go, and then handling the change, and maybe not being afraid of it. I feel like this change though isn't something that we've decided. I feel like this change was pushed on us. And do you think that is happens more often, where we're forced to change, or that we choose change?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that those who are willing to recognize that change is inevitable and actually can be good, those that realize that can actually, I think, enjoy something that might even be sweeter on the other side. It has been that way for us. Has been that way for me. You know, at the very beginning, I'll give you a couple of items. One would be, at the very beginning, I was a high-end wedding photographer. And so we did over 650 weddings. I mean, and we were known as the wedding team. And so we were at the top of the game, traveling all over, speaking for Kodak, having all the little stickers all over you as you go all over the country back then. And so it was a really hard thing to stop and say, why do I want to get off this mountain? Well, our children had started going into school, and for us, it didn't fit the lifestyle. We were gone so much that on the weekends, it was difficult to go to their events or get to their events. And I mean, for us, and you know our family, our family's a really tight family. And so it really meant a lot to us to not sacrifice that. I didn't want to miss that. I was also working at the Space Center. So, I mean, it was we had a couple of companies, and we had the Space Center thing, and it was a lot of time. And so I was not sleeping much. And I really thought we need to change the business model. And so, yes, I decided to change, but it was because of, some influence of something in my life. But I could have chosen not to change. I could have made the decision, we would just not change and just sacrifice what was probably, looking back, the most important thing in my life, right? But I couldn't see that at the time. I had to have a mentor, and we talked about the mastermind group, a mentor, Tom McDonald, who was my mentor, and he shook me and said, dude, you've got to make a decision. You have to make a change, basically is what he was saying. And so I did. And that's when I shifted into a high-end portrait world. And one of the articles talks about the gallery that I had visited, and it just floods of memories of me playing with crayons and art and all of that, and seeing the new embellished reproduction process that the art community had gone through. And I walked into this gallery that was full of these realistic paintings of ballerinas who, if you know my wife, she was a ballerina. And I just was thrown back. And here I am, high-end wedding photographer, no reason in the world from a business standpoint. It was just a dumb thought to think, I'm going to put that in the trash can and go after this thing that just opened up my inner child. And I said, I can do this. I can create this. I know I can do this. And we completely shifted on a dime. We had a transition plan, of course, because that's who I am. And we shifted down the wedding business and brought this up. So it was very gauged on doing it, but the change happened that second when I walked in that gallery.
Wow.
So things like that. I mean, you can make that change happen, or it can be outside influences. The downturn, changing my market, that wasn't necessarily just a decision. That was kind of, we had to do something, So yeah, I mean, change, I think it actually, in some ways, difficult times and periods, I would never wish this on anybody, but some of those are the times that you can come out the other end in a beautiful way if you're willing to look at things and shift your paradigm and look at things a different way.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of those stories right now. I talk to a lot of photographers around the country, And I'm hearing a lot of those positive stories of people talking about the changes that they're making, and yeah, they're forced on them during this time in history, but it's almost like they're lightening up. You know what I mean? Like they light up now. They're excited about something because they've been able to see the shift, or they're able to serve a community in a very different way. And I feel like there's also been that shift of really understanding what is it that people want and need. You know, really focusing on that, and so that's been really fun to watch and to hear about.
Yeah, digital wasn't an easy change. You know, it was a huge change in our industry, you know, going from film to digital. And from our perspective, it was just the difference of implementing a tool like a chef would in a restaurant. Maybe they're fixing something with a microwave now that they weren't able to microwave before. But does this client need to really realize that it was the microwave? Right. You know, I mean, they don't really need to know that that's how it was being prepared, right? Unless it was being prepared in front of them, then it might be part of the experience, right?
Right, right.
And so for us, digital, we brought in a way that we only adopted those digital solutions as they fit our business model, you know? And so we brought them in, and so our client base didn't really, it wasn't, are you doing digital?
Right.
Digital wasn't part of the dialogue. It was just another one of my paintbrushes. It was just a way of me selecting to do and create a product that I know how to do. But that was a very huge change from a technological and actually how I accomplished my my end goal product. But the end goal product is the same, which is
yeah, but that also brings up one other thing to consider. During that time, there were a lot more photographers, but you weren't competing with that, you know, new people coming into the industry. That wasn't your competitive, you know, those weren't your competitors because you had already positioned yourself in a place that was for your artwork, right?
Yeah, so it was more about, you know, what you might hear Walden talk about, the print, you know, being a print, what's he say, he's a print artist, right? So for us, it was all about, we created this art gallery, personalized, designed, uniquely designed for these beautiful homes that we work with. And so the end product was not digital. It may be a piece of it going through on how I create my end product, but that's not what they came in for. You know, right. They came in for a Gregory Daniel portrait, and our market is a uniquely designed piece of, you know, art that's personalized, that goes in their home, that's their on their wow wall. So it wasn't that whole market that you just mentioned. The product was digital. You know, they were selling digital, and a huge wave of that came in to satisfy what I think the market was desiring, which was digital. They were desiring that and asking for it. And so this wave came in offering it, not realizing it was not really, one, a sustainable business model, right, as a business model, and two, really wasn't what, you know, somebody said something about, sometimes if you're a kindergarten teacher, you don't always give them what they want, right? Because it's really not what they need. You know? So, right. You know exactly how that goes, but I don't know that did a really great service to the clients, just providing digital products, right, as an end goal, because a lot of them now are probably gone or wiped off their drives or whatever. It's not a sustainable product.
Right, right.
So,
and as an artist, I mean, there's nothing better than seeing your art printed and hanging in someone's home.
Oh, nothing better. And it's also, oddly enough, yes, that, and every time they throw a party, it's like having a Gregory Daniel wall display. And so it's an incredible marketing. I mean, works hand in hand, right?
That's awesome. Yes, that's true. So as we're wrapping up here, I know I've taken a lot of your time, but I appreciate you so much. As we're kind of wrapping all of this up, um, just you talked a little bit at the beginning and kind of wrapping up on you being president this year. Is there any kind of last bit of advice that you have for our membership and for those watching? Just encouragement at this time.
Yeah, well, first, I would just like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone acting safe and being safe and sacrificing your business and your time and your family to be safe to yourself, to others, right? I mean, my mother, I look across the golf course here. She is elderly, of course, and she is in the high risk group, I should say. And I thank everyone that's keeping people like my mom safe, right? And it's because it's not just about us personally, it's about everyone that's around us. And I'm so grateful for PPA to put out things and instructions like, the safe operations for professional photographers, things like that on the In It Together page, that some of those things of advice that can help us get through this really difficult period of time. Because and then the other piece of it is that I wanted to just say thank you to a lot of you that breathing life into someone else during this period of time is an incredibly important thing. And it's something we can all do for each other. And it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much to love on your neighbor or to love on your client or to love on somebody that just needs a little bit. I mean, people are lonely right now, and that's hard, on a lot of folks that are lonely, and other professional photographers and people in your industry or in your community that are suffering. You can reach out to them and you can just love on them, and it can mean all the world to them. And so I see a lot of that. I talk to a lot of photographers and just encourage them to do so. And I've gotten a lot of emails and responses and letters and things about how they've done that. And it does make a difference.
Absolutely. Gregory, thank you so much for joining us today. I always enjoy our conversations. They're always insightful, and we appreciate all you've done and your year as being president. We still have you for a while longer, so we're excited about that. Looking forward to the rest of your presidential messages that we can read in in Professional Photographer magazine. I was gonna almost call it PP Mag because that's what we call it around the office. But just thank you so very much, and I look forward to our next conversation.
All right.
Thanks, Gregory.
Bye-bye.
Bye.